only thing we have to fear is
in war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
You find your way to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live with David Barton and Rick Green. Thanks so much for joining us today. Visit online at wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. We'd also love for you to join us on Facebook and get involved in the conversation there as well. And you can send your questions into WallBuilders at radio at wallbuilders.com. That's radio at wallbuilders.com. Especially on Thursdays, we like to try to get to some of those questions about the Constitution and Declaration and our founding principles. That's our Foundations of Freedom Thursdays. And then Friday is Good News Friday. I think, David, I need to ask you a question or something here. I keep getting tongue-tied today.
Yeah, all right. So what question do you want to ask? Let's see if you can get tongue-tied on that one.
Well, let me ask you this question. So what's the best way to get a country to go the wrong direction? If you want to get us totally off track, take away the people that would keep us on track. In other words, the good seed, the salt and light. Get them to say, doesn't matter. What's the point in staying involved in the country? And America's going to become no longer that Christian nation that's been a blessing to the whole planet.
Are you trying to get me in trouble? Because if I answer that question, I'm going to get in trouble with some folks. Is that what you want me to be the one in trouble instead of you? Is that the way it is?
I stay awake at night trying to figure out how to make sure it's you in trouble instead of me.
So your cowardice on this came through. I'm the one who has to carry the hot water on this. Okay. All right. Let's just do it then here. All right. Let me start out by saying that we love Ted Baer and Movie Guide and all that they do, because we often have programs maybe once every 6 weeks or so looking at the new movies that are coming out. That's one of those areas of the culture in which we should be involved. You and I have talked about there's 5 major areas in the culture that we need. Well, a lot of other people say 7 major areas. Whatever it is, entertainment's one of them, movies. And so we've looked over recent months at the number, and particularly we look back over the last 3 or 4 years, the number of Christian-themed movies or pro-family or traditional value movies that have come out and done so well in box office. And so, I mean, you get so many of the animated films that have good themes to them and good stories, and so many of the action classics, and a lot of the cartoon ones, the Marvel, the comic book ones are coming out and doing real well. So all of these are doing really well. We've seen in the last 2 or 3 years a number of religious movies do very well. And then suddenly we come to the movie Left Behind. Now, if you remember, Left Behind was a series of, I think, 7 books or so that Tim LaHaye and Jenkins did back about 20 years ago, and based on the doctrine of the rapture, that Jesus is coming and going to take the church out of here, and the people
massively
that left
successful.
behind.
I mean, millions and millions of copies.
I mean, sold unbelievable amounts. And Tim LaHaye is a good friend. He's been a friend for a number of years. His wife, Beverly, is one of the reasons I early got involved way back in the 80s, so a long time ago. So good friends, and now 20 years after those books, they come out with the movie, and they picked really some good acting. You know, Nicolas Cage, no lightweight in any way, shape, fashion, or form, and the movie is a complete bust. I mean, it did really pathetic at the box office, and you go, wow, what's up with this? And you know, quite frankly, I was somewhat happy the movie was a bust. And, you know, that seems like a strange thing to say, but it's because of eschatology. And if folks don't know what eschatology is, that's your theological view of how the end of the world will occur. And from a historical standpoint, the doctrine of, and it's now a doctrine, the doctrine of the rapture, that Jesus will come back and pull all of his people out, and then everybody's going to be left behind to figure out what to do with the world, and it's going to go to hell in a handbasket. That's a fairly new doctrine. You got to go back into the late 1800s to find that doctrine, which is an interesting question. If we've had the New Testament for 2,000 years, how come we're just now discovering the doctrine of the rapture? There's no question Jesus comes back. We're told that in 2 Thessalonians. He comes back as a thief in the night. Now, whether he comes back and takes everybody away and leaves the world on itself for a number of years, or whether we rise to meet him in the air and come back with him to rule, those are questions. But what's happened as a result, and what I saw throughout the 80s and 90s and even in the early 2000s, was that people said, hey, it's all prophesied. Jesus is coming back. It is an absolute waste of time to get involved with anything because the rapture is going to happen and everything we're doing is wasted energy at that point anyway, so let's not get involved.
And there was a whole lot of guessing about when he's going to come. It's going to be next week or next year or 1988 specifically or whatever date, and how many different times so it's a specific date. And so everybody just kind of checked out.
Well, there was a famous book, 88 Reasons Why Christ Will Come in 88. And, I know one of the guys who's head of one of the major Christian TV networks who checked out after that because he was so convinced Christ would come in 88 that when Christ didn't come in 1988, it blew his whole theology. And he just couldn't reconcile that for the next 20 years. And so what happens is, as Christians, we have missed something very simple. And that simple thing is in the commands of Jesus. There are 45 commands that Jesus gives believers in the New Testament. If you read all the Gospels all the way through, there are 45 things Jesus tells us to do. And one of those things that he says is Luke 19:13. He says, you occupy till I come. And so what happens is we have a doctrine that's been introduced.
That means the couch, right?
Oh, yeah. Occupy the couch. That's right. Occupy the pool till I come.
Right.
Occupy till I come is like an occupation that we had after World War II, where you put a force in there, a military force to help govern it and get them back on their feet, help get things moving back in the right direction, get rid of the crime and the lawlessness and all this stuff, get them healthy. And so that occupy till I come means you're supposed to be involved. You stay involved till I come. And somehow we got this theology that said, oh, no, don't get involved. Ignore the command of Jesus. We got this new doctrine from the 1800s that says you need to stay out of it. You don't want to contaminate yourself with involvement. And so that's what happened. And so I was really grateful that the movie didn't do well because I didn't want that mentality going out there. It violates way too many things in the Bible about being involved, being salt and being light, being faithful. He comes back. Twice in the parables, he says, blessed is that servant that when he returns, he finds so doing. Well, we're checked out. We're not doing anything. We're waiting for him to get. And by the way, this Christian doctrine is really almost exclusively an American doctrine. You go across Africa, you won't find this doctrine to any great degree. Across Asia, Europe, anywhere else, this is basically a Christian get me out of here doctrine. And so when the movie did not do well, I thought that's good. But then I saw this article by Ben Kayser, and who's with Movie Guide, our friends, and basically the same thing. And it was like, it didn't do well. And that's a reflection of the not healthy theology in it that says, let's check out of here and leave everything for everybody else. And so I thought it'd be really good to get Ben on to talk about that, because this is a healthy thing, I think, going on in America. The fact that the movie did not do well when so many other Christian movies did do well, maybe is reflecting the fact that we're starting to figure out we're not supposed to get out of here that quick. We're supposed to stay here till he comes back, whenever that is. In the meantime, let's occupy till he comes.
And at a minimum, stay with us till we get back from the break. Stay with us right here on WallBuilders Live.
In 1776, the difference of one vote gave America the English language instead of German. In 1876, the difference of one vote made Rutherford Hayes President of the United States. In 1923, the difference of one vote gave Adolf Hitler leadership of the Nazi Party. Get the idea? One vote, yours, makes a huge difference. Vote.
This message brought to you by National Religious Broadcasters.
This is Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. The Bible is full of stories of men and women whose faith in God led them to take action during difficult times, trusting that He would work all things out for His glory and the good of His people. Today, God's people are once again being called to take action as we seek to restore the values our nation was founded upon and honor those who have given their lives in defense of our freedom. I'm Governor Bobby Jindal, and I'm asking you to stand up. I'm asking you to vote this November.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Our guest today is Ben Kayser. He's the managing editor at Movie Guide. By the way, get the app. You can go to movieguide.org and get caught up on what's coming out in the movies and make sure you know before you go into that theater or take your family in what you're going to see. But you can also get the app to check it out. Ben, thanks for coming on, sir.
It's great to be with you, Rick.
Hey, appreciate all that you guys do. Always love having Ted on, and just love what y'all do. Not only in terms of keeping us informed out here across the country, but what you do behind the scenes in helping to get some good movies out there and some good entertainment and good values. So God bless you for what you do. And great article. Dear Christians, please don't leave us behind. You had some interesting things to say about the recent release, Left Behind.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when the movie Left Behind came out, there's a lot of discussion about theology and about the state of Christian films, and we wrote a review, and we talked about, there were some interesting messages and good messages and positive Christian values in Left Behind. But I came away from it just thinking, what is it encouraging Christians to do right here, right now? So I wanted to write a piece kind of encouraging people that, maybe we don't want to leave this world behind yet because we want to help redeem it. We want to help spread the gospel. We want to help people get involved in every area of culture so that we can help, change it into bringing, God's kingdom here on earth, as the Lord's Prayer says. So that's where the article really came from.
Well, and as you mentioned in the article, I mean, regardless of your eschatology, God definitely calls us to be on mission, to be doing things for Him, and as Christ said, occupy until He returns.
Absolutely, and it wasn't meant to bash anyone's eschatology, because I think there's definitely very valid opinions, and there's so many different ways you can look at eschatology. But the main point of it is, if your eschatology in any way is causing you to sit back and not do anything about the state of the world and not be on mission, then maybe your eschatology is wrong. And I think most people can agree that whether you are pre-trib or post-trib or premillennial, amillennial, whatever it is, I think most of us can agree God calls each and every one of us to live on mission and to work and try to spread the gospel as far as the to the ends of the earth.
Amen. And to do things, to not just sit around looking at the sky and hoping He comes tomorrow. We can pray that He comes soon, but this got us into trouble, 25, 30 years ago. We got into this mentality as the church that, He was coming back next week or next year, and we stopped being salt and light, and we're really living with the repercussions of that today because the church checked out of the culture in so many different ways. So it's important for us to stay engaged. And you mentioned in the article all the different ways. I mean, people of faith are making a big difference. That Christians are out there impacting the world around them, and we don't want to see that get sidetracked where people no longer see the need right in front of them.
Absolutely, and you bring up an excellent point. I think, and I'll speak specifically to the media since I'm over here in Hollywood, but, decades ago there was a point where the church pulled their influence out of Hollywood, and they said, we no longer want to be an influencer in the media. We don't believe Christians should be involved. And as soon as the church pulled out, I believe this was around the 50s and 60s, all of a sudden all these horrendous movies started coming in and started, flooded the multiplexes. And all of a sudden you saw a decrease in values as the young people were being influenced by a lot of these, horrific movies. And that happened for a few decades, and it's been within the last 10 years that Christians have re-entered the field. And now we're seeing so many Christians involved in Hollywood and working to try to redeem Hollywood for Christ and to tell stories that are encouraging, uplifting, and that are God-honoring. And there's so many Christians here, and honestly, I'm encouraged when I see all these Christians from all over the world come together with one unified opinion, and that's, glorifying Christ.
Oh, man, it is exciting to see a re-engagement happening and at so many levels. I mean, whether it's like what you're saying in your arena in Hollywood or business or politics or education, it's really every area, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's the 7 pillars of influence, and I think God is going to be calling individuals to each one of those influencers, whether it is educators, whether it is politics. I mean, I've got very close friends, and their whole life and ministry is dedicated to reaching politicians with the gospel and meeting with them and loving them and showing them the love of Christ. And if they believe if they can reach their hearts, then those politicians, whether it be state senators or U.S. senators, then they can influence others in their sphere of influence. So that's what it's all about. It's going in to whatever your field is or whatever your vocation is, and just trying to be the best in your field and just love people with the gospel.
Quick break. When we come back, I want to just kind of get your 2 cents on what's coming out this Christmas. I usually do this with Dr. Bear, but we're going to get off the cuff from you because you didn't even know this was coming. What you're looking forward to, or what came out so far this year that you've liked. But I want to go to break reading the last few sentences of your article. It says, "Left Behind asks the important question, are you ready?" But you ask an additional question in the article. You say, are you ready to see God do amazing things in this country and around the world? Are you ready to see God's kingdom on earth come on earth as it is in heaven? Are you ready to leave fear and hopelessness behind? Are you ready to join us in this mission? There's so much to do, folks. We've got to be engaged. We've got to be salt and light. We've got to be influencing. Stay with us. Ben Kayser's our guest from Movie Guide. Check it out at movieguide.org. You're listening to WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Today, numerous court decisions demonstrate that there's often a conflict between the courts, the law, and religion. Has this conflict always existed? Not according to James Wilson. James Wilson was a signer of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. He was a law professor as well as an original justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. James Wilson saw no conflict between religion and the law. In fact, just the contrary. He declared, "Human law must rest its authority ultimately upon the authority of that law which is divine." Far from being rivals or enemies, religion and law are twin sisters, friends, and mutual assistants. Indeed, these two sciences run into each other. In the views of Founding Father James Wilson, religion and good civil law were inseparable.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us today on WallBuilders Live. Our guest today is Ben Kayser from movieguide.org. His article will have a link today at wallbuilderslive.com to make it easy for you to get there, but you can also get it by going to movieguide.org. And by the way, you should be going to movieguide.org to find out about the movies that you're thinking about going to see, so you know exactly what's in them, and also just to get some good recommendations. And speaking of that, Ben, what's been some of the good ones this year, or the ones you recommend we stay away from, and what to look towards coming in the next couple of months?
Well, there's been a lot of great, faith-based movies that I think a lot of people recognize, whether it be Son of God, God's Not Dead, Heaven is for Real, and we liked all of those. And there's also been some great, animated movies, like from DreamWorks, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and we really enjoyed Planes, Fire, and Rescue, and some of the other action movies, whether it be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But there's going to be some really big ones coming out over the next 2 months. November and December are always big months for movies. And I think the first one that I already have seen, it's called Big Hero 6. It's actually a Disney animated movie, and it's also sort of a Marvel movie. It's based on a Marvel comics, but it's a fantastic movie. It's charming. It's delightful. It's very similar to Wreck-It Ralph, which came out a few years back from Disney, in terms that it's geared towards boys, but I think all ages will enjoy this one. It's got some action, so maybe some very young kids might be a little frightened by it, but for the most part, it's definitely a great family movie. I'm particularly excited about the movie Interstellar, which is going to be this space adventure that comes out November 7th from director Christopher Nolan. He's known for the Batman trilogy over the past few years, and Inception, which was another big one. But Interstellar is going to have quite the big cast, and it might actually delve into some really interesting themes about the purpose of life and existence, and whether it be innovation and how to keep the world safe and going, in the right direction. So there could be some very interesting things in Interstellar. So we're looking forward to that. There's also Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. We were a fan of Catching Fire, the previous sequel in that installment, and I am looking forward to Hunger Games. There's also Exodus, Gods and Kings. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the trailers for this, but this one looks very interesting.
Now, is this the one? That's the one with Christian Bale?
That is correct.
I saw a picture for it. I haven't seen any of the trailers or anything for it.
It looks like it's going to be a very epic scale movie. Lots of visual effects. The director, Ridley Scott, is most known for his movie Gladiator. So I think we're going to be interested in this one to see, how true they stay to the Bible and how they try to, make it, friendly for the Christian audience because, if it's based on the Bible, hopefully they'll gear it towards Christians. But
I had read that this was kind of a almost a throwback to the Cecil B. DeMille style of big epic pictures, not all CG big scenes, but actually you got the thousands and thousands of people in these scenes. It's supposed to be pretty amazing.
That's the idea. They built some humongous sets, and they did use thousands of extras in a lot of their shots. But I think they are trying to just go beyond what the Ten Commandments did, just in terms of visual effects, because back then there was only so much you could do with the special effects, and this one looks to be quite incredible, quite the incredible experience. So we'll see how it is on the story level and how well it is actually done. And you can definitely check back to movieguide.org for that.
Is that going to be a Christmas one, or is that next year?
That's December 12th, so that'll be around Christmas.
Okay, all right, cool. And so now all of these, I mean, if you download the app, you can search by movie name. I mean, you can do your homework before you go out there, and you guys rate them. You do articles on them. You talk about what's in the movie and themes and all those things.
Absolutely, you can get the app on iTunes or on Android. We look at the acceptability for children. We look at the worldview. We look at the quality because, you want to watch a movie that's also well done and entertaining and one that you'll enjoy. So we look at all those different elements, and we write up articles on some of the other implications that these movies have. So, yeah, definitely movieguide.org and get the app if you are one of those iPhone users, which hopefully you are.
All right, good stuff, man. Well, it's a great tool, and I mean, it's nice to see a lot of the movies that are coming out with the good values, but also the good entertainment, and give people a chance to go support the good ones. And that's why I encourage people to use the app and to go to your website, because when these movies come out with the good values, we want to vote with our dollars and encourage that. It helps you guys when you're working behind the scenes with all these studios and trying to get them to make the good movies and keep the good values in. And it's just great to see this arena that, as you said earlier, I mean, Christians checked out of a long time ago, now getting back into and having great influence. You guys are right on the front lines of that, so we appreciate y'all at Movie Guide. Please tell Dr. Bear howdy from the WallBuilders family, and we look forward to having you back again, Ben.
I will. Thank you so much. God bless.
Stay with us, folks. Back in a moment with David Barton.
This is Dr. Tony Evans with the Urban Alternative, and I have one simple question. Do you plan to vote? If not, why not? It's an opportunity to participate in this republic in a unique way. Don't stand on the sideline and throw stones when you can get in the game and cast a ballot.
This message brought to you by National Religious Broadcasters, reminding you, make plans now and vote November 4th.
This is Governor Rick Perry. Throughout American history, people of faith have risen to the task of meeting difficult challenges. Today, we're once again being called to action to restore our nation, this time at the ballot box. Your vote is your voice. When you vote your values, you send a message that America remains one nation under God. I'm Governor Rick Perry, and I'm asking you to stand up and be heard. I'm asking you to vote this November.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to WallBuilders Live. Thanks for staying with us. We're back with David now. And David, I can't stop thinking about something you said at the opening of the program. I've never thought about it, as much as I've talked about that scripture, occupy until I return. I never made the connection to it's like an occupying force in a strange land, because we are strangers in this land, and so this isn't our homeland. But while we're here, we occupy and we become salt and light, and we try to make it as good as we possibly can.
Well, look at Japan. We went into Japan and helped create their economy. Look at them prosper now. Look at their educational system. Look at their form of government. Look at what we did in so many areas. We occupied and helped them get really strong in those areas, and then we, at that point, was able to turn it over. And the 7 areas that people point to as 7 mountains, and even Ben mentioned the 7 areas of influence, but those are economics, government, family, spirituality, education, media, and celebration. Celebration is entertainment. And so those are the 7 areas. And we used to be involved in all that. And it's been pointed out, man, up until 1968 in Hollywood, there wasn't a movie that came out of Hollywood unless Christians gave the thumbs up on it. And then in 68, we said, we shouldn't be doing that. We got spiritual things to do. We don't need to be doing stuff in Hollywood. Let's get out of here. And it's that eschatology that gets us out of here. And so look what's happened in Hollywood, but actually in the last 10 years it's coming back. But I love what Ben said. Really simple. He said that if your eschatology doesn't cause you to live on mission, then your eschatology is probably wrong. And that's exactly right. And I think that's a good sign. I think the movie not doing well is a fact that hopefully our eschatology is beginning to change for a more sound biblical direction in America. Maybe we're getting a little more mature and a little wise over some things.
Got to stay involved. Got to be salt and light. That's what we're talking about here on WallBuilders Live. Always looking at ways to get involved and make a difference and simply serve God in whatever arena He's called you to. Thanks for listening today to WallBuilders Live.
We stand under